But, you know, the question isn't so much, you know, what's going to happen, but it's how are you going to respond? I don't get to choose the event, but I don't get to choose the situation, but I get to choose the strategy and the story around how I respond. So we've been doing this series, Business Resilience Now. We've talked about the impact of COVID, and that's crazy, you know, on so many levels. I mean, hey, folks, this is a lot more than just a public health issue. You know, that's why when people, you know, comment on COVID and then somebody says, well, are you a public health official? Well, no, I'm not. I'm a human being. Thank you very much. And COVID is impacting us on way more levels than just public health. I mean, it's profound. The reaches of this tragedy right now, and so we're talking about that. But first, if you've been tuning in, you know that I love my memes, and you know, humor is important. You know that humor actually improves your immune system, right? And so, just a couple of memes that I hope you'll enjoy. I hope you'll get something out of these. You know, I hope you can see them on the screen. You know, there's two types of people in the world. One guy's got his cart full of paper towel, toilet paper, and water, and the other is full of Corona. But it's the old school Corona, right? The beer, you know. So, which, by the way, I still enjoy from time to time. I like this next one. Some people aren't shaking hands because of the coronavirus. I'm not shaking hands because everyone's out of toilet paper.
Oh boy!
You know, we can do like a fist pump here today. AP, a little bit of fist pump toilet paper. You know, no touch required. I thought this was funny. You know, when you work at a bank and two guys with masks come in, but they're just robbing the place. Right?
Oh boy!
Now you're worried. Oh no, is it coronavirus? You know, and somebody sent me this the other day. I guess they finished Netflix, just all of it.
Good for them.
The whole thing, right? I mean, hey, that's got to be some kind of prize for that. I thought this was great. You know, I'm really hoping my wife does not come home one day and say, sorry, I'm practicing social distancing, and kick me out of the house. But I do think it's probably going to be one of the most popular breakup texts of 2020, you know.
Wow. Watch out.
Got to be careful. You just never know, right, people?
That's funny.
And I just love this here, you know. You know, you could put Justin Trudeau right there, you know, keep complaining about the quarantine. You just bought yourself another month, you know. And if you had a dad or a stepdad like that, you know, you could see that sometimes that's what happens. You know, you complain about it, you get grounded even more, you know. So I guess somehow we got to be happy about it. But, you know, COVID-19 legit has changed our world. What's the solution? I don't know. I literally don't know. I have no idea. But I do know that, you know, when you have conversations, you're going to get further than when you don't, right? That's why you've got to expose yourself, you know, to different perspectives. And, you know, if you listen to the same media all the time, if you read the same writer all the time, you check out the same people all the time, you're actually going to hurt yourself, because it's in those different perspectives that oftentimes we have a lot of the clarity that we're looking for. So today, you know, I said all that to say I'm really excited to invite Peter and Christina on the call with us today. Peter and Christina Pilarski. They're the owners, the founders of CIPR Communications. You know, I can tell you this, that, you know, I've met them. I met Peter in a bar. No, just joking, actually.
Wouldn't be that far off.
We have met in a few bars, though.
We have actually had a few meetings in some pubs anyways, but we were doing our MBA together at the University of Calgary. And so we met, I think it was around 2014 when we started the program, and, you know, just really connected. It was really cool. He had a really diverse background. And then, you know, of course, we ended up introducing each other's wives to each other and became friends. And Peter and Christina, they have two beautiful twin boys, you know, and so it's just, they're just really good people. But on top of that, they're running a company. They have employees. They're in this situation, just like you, just like me. COVID-19 has hit all of us. And, you know, I think what that means is we need to pull from each other and try to learn some stuff about how we can get through this. And they have really found a way to thrive in the middle of COVID-19, and that's really exciting. And so, Peter and Christina and Peter, that's kind of my intro. But why don't I'll just turn over to you guys, and you just tell us a little bit about you and kind of how you got into business and where you're at right now.
Sure. So, I mean, as Abe said, I have a fairly extensive and broad background, and I started off in government, worked at the Alberta legislature, had the great honor to write speeches for politicians, and I got to learn how the sausage is made in the legislature, which is an interesting thing to learn. So anyways, long story short, I grew up in Edmonton, made it to Calgary after some career changes, and actually met Christina through politics. So we met at a Jim Prentice membership drive way before he was premier kind of thing. Just we both have a very strong political background, and both had really good careers. I guess at the top of my career in the corporate world was vice president of Merit Contractors Association, where I did public relations, communications, and government relations advocacy. I was
awesome.
a lobbyist essentially. And Christina, I'll let her do a quick introduction, and we'll talk about the company and all that.
Yeah, so I mean, communications is my background. When I was a little kid, I always used to dream of being a journalist. I wanted to be the Barbara Walters on 2020.
Nice.
And then you go through school and you realize, okay, well, maybe I don't want to be the one asking the questions. I want to be the one answering them.
Right.
So I had this little bit of a shift in terms of moving into the communications field. Did communications in government, worked oil and gas, as everyone does in Calgary from time to time.
Nice, okay.
And then, made the move to start CIPR.
And so tell us a little bit about, and thanks for that intro, because it's really great to hear how you guys met. And, we won't ask you about the political leanings, because sometimes, I don't know, I met them, they were NDP and now they're a liberal, or, I don't know, maybe they were a member of the Communist Party of Canada, and then I converted them. Now they're PC or something like that. But
I just now think all government is the problem, so we'll just stop there. As an entrepreneur, that's where I'm at now.
Very cool. So political stripe has nothing to do with that. I think a lot of us would agree. So tell us about a little bit about CIPR. What exactly do you guys do there?
Yeah, so we're a strategy first marketing and communications agency. So we come alongside businesses, and our big goal with our clients is all around lead generation and brand reputation. So when your brand reputation is strong, that helps you generate leads. As you're feeding that machine, those two become the most important parts of your communications and marketing campaign.
Yeah, I'll just say our primary focus has been to date around the tourism industry. And obviously oil and gas Calgary, you can't avoid working in that industry. So we do a little bit of that kind of work, and we do also a lot of business to consumer service type work. So I mean, that sort of is consistent with tourism, but it's not just tourism. So things like home services, flooring contractors, plumbers, people that go to people's houses and deliver services. Those types of businesses tend to be the kinds of business we work with, but not exclusively.
Okay, so that sounds like, I mean, not to kind of try to take it in a certain direction, but the way that you framed that, Christina, where first and foremost it's business strategy, and then really what is your branding and your public presence look like, and then obviously into the field of lead generation. So talk us through that a little bit, because I'm sure it doesn't matter to me if you're running, and this is what I tell people all the time, if you're running the biggest company out there, or if you're just mom and pop, or just a one-person operation, that sort of progression I think is really important. And probably COVID has brought that to the surface, that some folks didn't have that in place. Not to judge or shame, hey, what it is, you learn what you need to learn, but talk us through that progression. Because I have a lot of people, they'll come, and I don't know why they come to me, and they'll be like, can you help me with my branding? And I'm like, well, okay, but what are you actually trying to do? And they haven't actually really thought about that, but they want this really cool brand. And so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so maybe I'll step in on that one, and I'll say I get a lot of people that come to me and say I want to be on Facebook, or I want SEO or whatever, and the first question always has to be why. What is it you're trying to achieve? And so So I'm the sales guy in the organization. That's my role. So I do our lead generation, business development. And so really from a strategy first perspective, our approach really is focused on research. And so I won't even entertain a potential client unless I've had the opportunity to do some research. So we have a very specific sales process where I do something called an internet business analysis, where I basically analyze their online presence. I analyze a couple of their competitors using a few tools that are available. Really start to understand where are we starting from? What's your starting point? What does your brand look like? How are you doing online? And then that begins a conversation that's a strategy first conversation. Because if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want SEO, and I just say, okay, and I start doing SEO for them, it's sort of like completely void. Like SEO is a tactic. And that may not be the right tactic for them. And so, you know, really when we're a strategy first agency, that means that really it starts with our sales process. And it starts way before we actually sign a contract with a client. And so that when we're at the point of signing a contract, both the client is fully aware of what the approach is going to be and why. And we sort of know exactly what's going to work for the client based on the data and the research and what the tools are showing us. And so that's where it starts. Obviously, in as many cases as possible, we like to then progress to actually writing a strategy and a tactical plan. Doesn't always work that way, although generally that's the way it works. And then we actually started to get into some tactics and executing and that kind of thing. So I probably frustrate people because I slow them down from, hey, I'm excited and I want to do this. Somebody told me Facebook is good. But really the why is the key question that needs to be asked, right? Like, why do you want your brand to be reputable? For what? What is your message? Who are your competitors? How are you positioned? And where are the opportunities to win? Because until you do that work, you're just kind of guessing in the dark.
What I'll say is we've really evolved a lot over the years. And I think it's, you know, a good strategy for people to start thinking about that now too is, you know, there's some time to reflect during COVID. But, you know, for us, especially as I look, the company's 10 years old, or I guess 11 years old this year.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But we really kind of 5-6 years ago said, okay, let's make this something. Let's build this into something. And when you start out, you certainly take on some interesting projects. And I think that one big cultural value that Peter and I have tried to instill and that we really kind of talk about weekly at CIPR is confidence. So, you know, when you're just starting off, you kind of use language like, well, I think this is what we should do. And, you know, my research says this. And as you mature and you evolve, you go, hey, you've hired me to be the expert. And so that level of confidence, I think, has then driven us towards this kind of strategy first. As we look back at past clients, you know, the ones who sat down for a month and did the research with us, allowed us to come in and do the 40,000-foot audit, what worked last time, what didn't, what are our actual themes, what are our actual audiences. Those are the ones that always do better. And the ones where, you know, you're maybe less confident coming in, especially in early days, and we just ran, you look back and you're like, ooh, there was a lot there that we missed, or there was a lot there that client could have built on. So I think it's like Peter said, that strategy and thinking about it before you start. And I think especially in times where we're feeling a little bit panicked, my recommendation would be, hey, step back for a week or two.
Yeah.
Think about what that is and then start executing, because really what's a week in the grand scheme of, okay, I haven't marketed in the last year.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So one of the comments that's coming in right now is, you know, that why is always the question, and maybe you can kind of speak to that. I know that's become a bit of a buzzword right now, and I mean, I think it's a good thing that it is, so that the awareness gets out there. But what does that mean? Like, how does a business owner really discover that and then anchor that in, you know, with respect to kind of, especially in this environment with COVID going on?
I'll say a couple of things. So,
okay.
So one, I think when you're a business owner, and I gotta say, running a business is an evolutionary process.
Yeah.
And you know, the why is something that isn't often something that's at the forefront. And maybe it is, maybe it's not discovered, maybe it's not understood. But as you go, your why starts to come out, and you know, you gotta. and I think Christina and I are personality-wise a great match for business. So I'm they call me the chief dreamer internally, and so
don't tell anyone.
yeah, and I'm people and she's work, and that's sort of how we kind of differentiate ourselves. Not that I don't do work, but really, the why is something I think about constantly, right? And it's like, well, for us personally, the why is because. And I see on your description, I want to live the life I want to live by design, and I want to be in control of my own future. So that's my why. I fundamentally believe in freedom as the most important value that for me personally, and running a business really fundamentally gets me to freedom. And that's an important why and an important driver for me. But I then extrapolate that to a lot of the clients we work with, and in a lot of the cases, when it comes to marketing and communications, at least, they know that the product and services that we sell allow them to feel comfortable in their lead generation, in the business growth, and a really important part of their business, which is growing their business and getting new clients and whatever. And so for my why is, or the why I bring to my customers or try to get out of my customers is all about allowing us to come in and help them with their lead generation. And feel comfortable that they're in the right track so that they can focus on the things that they're best at, which is being a great engineer or being a great, inventor or whatever it is that they do. So really it's allow them to focus on their why and whatever that may be.
What I always say to clients too is, I think whys often start with a tactic when you're thinking about marketing. So Peter mentioned Facebook. So when a client says, well, I'm thinking about being on Facebook, and I think that's really important, and we say why, what we're driving towards is, again, target audience and themes and types of content. Because I'll use this example a lot in terms of, we get a lot of questions about TikTok lately, a lot of questions about Instagram, and my first question is why, and usually it's something about trend and whatever, and it's like, okay, well, let's dig into your target audience. We know some stats about who's on what platform. And if your target audience is a 50-year-old man, probably you're not going to find him on Instagram. So maybe you need to think about LinkedIn. And then even diving deeper down from a content perspective, it's like, okay, well, do you love doing videos? Does your product speak to video? Do your services? And they say no. And then I said, well, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to find TikTok content. So, that why starts with your business vision. And then it starts with kind of that really granular tactical piece. And I always say, hey, if you don't take a picture of anything, then making a leap to a highly visual platform is probably not the right place to start. But hey, if you're Abe Brown and you love doing those videos and you're committed to doing them every day, then I have a bunch of platforms you'd be good at. So it's about almost finding that why from a Peter perspective, and then matching it to almost that content play that makes the most sense for you.
No, it's really good. Absolutely. So what have been some of the things that have worked really well for you guys during COVID? I mean, maybe tell us how COVID has impacted your business, and then, what are some strategies that have been, helpful strategies?
So maybe I'll start by saying, because you mentioned it right off the top, and it sort of resonated with me, is that, like, we make all these plans for what 2020 is going to be looking like. And literally for us, we had put in all these amazing plans into place from a lead generation perspective. April 1, 2020 was going to be the month when it just blew up. And everything had lined up perfectly towards that. In fact, and our I guess what sort of was the crown on top of it all was, we spoke at the BC Tourism Industry Conference, had done a bunch of work ahead of time to sort of line everybody up for that, in terms of sold out crowd, great audience, exactly on point, 15 people ready to sign up tomorrow, and then boom, get back, COVID hits, right? So to give you a sense, obviously tourism is a big focus for us, really hard hit industry. So, there's no question it had an immediate direct impact, not only on the fact that, immediate impact is numbers wise, 20% drop in, literally 3 days of revenue. Several clients that are clients that we believe will be around after this. agreed that we're going to sort of bill them in October. So we're, continuing to work, and there's hopefully a bigger bill coming that's going to get collected on later. So, I mean, we've had to make adjustments, obviously financially, obviously in terms of just like our operations. And for me, though, the most devastating part is the explosive growth that we're now not seeing. And obviously it is what it is. So in terms of, we've had to shift, but that's okay. So I'm going to let Christina talk about some of the shifts we made, because that was really kind of some of the stuff she led right off the bat. So,
cool.
Yeah, I think, the first thing we did was split the client list in half and have conversations. And like I said, as we were talking before the webinar started, just about this for me, and Peter joked about me being the very work-driven person, it's actually allowed me to really touch our clients in a really human way. I think that, I'm personable and nice, but once you get me into business mode, I get out my spreadsheet and here we go.
Yeah.
For us, it was these really, sometimes really hard and emotional conversations with clients. But, they, especially being a firm that's strategy first, you build these relationships that, you're really invested in what your client is building. So being able to be really honest, have these great conversations, and be really flexible. And I think, again, especially for a personality like mine, flexibility is not usually the first thing on the table, but it's been a good lesson to me. And I think those that will survive this and end up thriving will be the ones that kind of have those short-term pain, but because they're being flexible, because they're coming alongside people in a really human way, because we're all in this together. I was early on talking to my grandma, who said to me, "Oh, like this stuff doesn't affect you guys, does it?" And I said to her, "Well, actually it does."
Yeah.
And these are the ways. And I think when you think about comms agencies or this work like that you do, Abe, you don't necessarily make the initial connection of, "Oh, this doesn't affect you. You're not in these certain industries," but it does. And so to be able to just put everyone in the same boat and hey, we all have kids running around in the background and screaming on a call now. And there almost has been this great equalizer. And I love the fact that the majority of my work meetings now start with really human conversations, as opposed to where's this at? What's this happening? Where are we? So, I mean, that's been really nice.
I'll say tactically though, in terms of a couple of things we did right away is, we have a pretty robust lead generation machine that we've been building for a while now. Obviously, I turned a couple channels off. I wasn't going to be immediately doing hard sales. But what we did is we immediately shifted to doing free webinars on various topics related to things that we do. And really went into a lead nurturing mode immediately. So, I mean, it was sort of like, okay, the leads that, they're all there. Let's nurture them. Let's give them some value, free value, right? Just sort of stay top of mind. So we've been doing basically weekly webinars on various topics. PR help, free PR help to any client or really anybody that needed it. So really, I mean, it was just all about value. Don't worry about it. We'll figure out the details later. And then we've been working internally on improving some internal processes around lead generation and sort of preparing for the next wave. So, today's April 30th, tomorrow's May 1st, my lead generation's switching back on. I'm getting back into lead gen mode. And we're sort of going to start those conversations again and start to sort of work on building business. Now, some of the stuff that we did in terms of lead nurturing has resulted in business. So we've been able to pick up clients, almost a client a week or a little bit better than that since really the COVID crisis hit. So while we had an immediate drop, we're sort of rebuilding. Oh, there we go. Speaking of managing.
I get it. It's all good. Those are the true experts, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk for a couple of minutes about lead generation, because I think, if you, I mean, that's an area of expertise for you and for your company. I know you're the guy in your company who focuses on that. So what are a few basic things you can talk about? Because, I'm sure anyone, it doesn't matter what do you ever talk to somebody who doesn't need more leads, right?
Yeah.
100%. We always need more leads. So talk about that a little bit.
Sure. I mean, I'll just talk about what we're doing specifically for ourselves, and these are
Sure.
tactics that we suggest to clients all the time. I believe in actually doing what I'm selling. So, first of all, search engine optimization is a critical thing for any business to be doing always. It
Okay.
just is a good future-proofing tactic. So, that's something that everybody should be working on. But more directly, so I have a call center. I have a call center that makes cold calls for me, 50 hours of cold calls a day, or a month, I should say. So that's what they do. And then that channel gets me around, 10 to 12 sort of good solid leads a month.
Yep.
I had the call center turned off for a little while, and we were doing some LinkedIn lead generation. So basically reaching out to people on LinkedIn, connecting, having organic conversations, again, using a company that was doing that for us. So that was an incredibly good lead generation source. It really depends on the industry, on the company, a lot of things. So like for my industry, for example, hey, like, why don't you just throw in some digital marketing ads? Well, the reality is that my competitors are all digital marketers. They're all good at what they do, and the cost for digital marketing is very expensive. So it's actually not the greatest channel for us. So again, that's where the strategy first piece comes in, because it really depends on the business, depends on what they're trying to achieve. But I think, first of all, this business to business LinkedIn lead generation is a great thing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be a channel that has a limited time around it, because it's sort of a hot thing right now. And soon everybody's going to be doing it, and it's no longer going to have the advantages that it has right now. So that's one channel that I would consider, especially in the B2B space, for people to consider.
So, I don't, is that Jacob or Bartek?
That's Bartek.
Okay. Hey, Bartek, how are you? This is what it's all about, right? Is he camera shy or what?
He's just feeling a little down today, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard not to, even our 5-year-old daughter, Jasmine, she's just lonely, right? It's just like friends, as much as you try your best to keep them happy, it's tough, but, anyways, so we were just chatting about lead generation, Christine, and it's funny because there's been so much emphasis, my take on Facebook, to some degree SEO. I don't think a lot of people understand it, but a lot of people are talking about it. And then Instagram. What about LinkedIn? Like, what has your experience been there? Because I think for some people, it's a bit of a black box still. I'm not sure why that is, but it's kind of like they think, oh, that's for this crowd, not realizing that probably a lot of the people they want to be talking to are already there. So what are your thoughts about LinkedIn and some strategies there?
Yeah, I would say, my first thing, well, we both always say this, is it's about people and not about business. And I think, there's sometimes businesses who choose to move to LinkedIn and start to build a really robust corporate page and things like that. And those are good. And I've seen some clients, especially in the energy services space, really succeed in that. But it's always complemented by a face and a human, right? So my first thing is make sure your profile is up to snuff, get some great visuals on there, show your work, be present, ask people for recommendations and reviews. But people go to LinkedIn for expertise, whether that's expertise in finding a job, which I think many people think LinkedIn is only about that, but expertise in everything. For me, I'm on LinkedIn looking at the social platform, executive teams. Okay, what's next? What's coming up? I'm looking at other marketing agencies. What are they doing that's different? So it's really a place that you get to position yourself as an expert.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'll say LinkedIn is hugely underutilized, especially, like I said, for B2B. The nice thing about LinkedIn, so I'll just give you a little bit of example of our campaign we ran, where literally you can say, I want to talk to the executive director of destination marketing organizations across Canada, period. Okay. And you can target that specifically, and you can come up with, there's 476 people or whatever the number is with that specific profile, right? There's not many platforms where you can get that specific and directly reach out to the exact person that you're looking for reach out to, right? So we generated a campaign like that. We basically reached out to destination marketing organizations and tourism operators across basically Western Canada, better part of Canada. We were like literally connecting with 100 people a day. Just under. And we were, starting organic conversations a week later. We had a script written out,
Awesome.
and it was just very organic. And it was just, hey, we're going to talk to whoever responds and wants to talk. I think the key thing though is understanding your target audience and understanding the messages that are going to resonate with your target audience. It's actually, I was just telling Christina today, I got some person connected with me on LinkedIn today and was like, hey, let's talk about how our businesses can help each other. And it's like, delete, you know what I mean? It's like, you got to have some thought behind what you're doing, and make sure that the person you're reaching out to actually might resonate with the message that you're putting out. It's pretty standard kind of marketing kind of stuff, but you'd be amazed with how many people don't follow that.
So that's so good. I mean, I'm actually just bringing up my phone right now. Got a message from somebody that I legit don't know beyond just the fact that, on LinkedIn we connected, and their question was, it wasn't even like a courtesy hi,
Yeah.
or a courtesy good morning, or a courtesy, hey, how are you? It was just literally one sentence. How is networking on LinkedIn going? and because I'm just sitting here, I've got nothing to do. I'm just sitting on my ass waiting for basically a troll to send me a note in the hope that somehow I'm going to just, it's not going so good. Could you please give me some advice? Like what the F is that? Like,
it's really that human thing. Like I go back to that, if anything, this has been such a reminder to me of that human matters. And so for me right now, even not a part of this kind of campaign, when someone's connecting with me or when I'm connecting with someone else, my first question right now is, how's business going? How are you making it through this crazy time we're in? And it's starting really great conversations. One, from a human perspective, I've met some really great other people that do the same thing as I do through it. But two, it's opened up the some good, maybe they're cold leads right now. Some are a little bit warm, but starting with that, hey, I'm a human, not a robot, is really important.
Yeah, but to give you a sense, with the right targeting and the right messaging, I mean, we had a 36% response rate to our initial outreach.
Awesome.
And I was getting off my LinkedIn lead generation campaign, I was getting 30 leads a month, high quality, super targeted leads, to the point that I had to shut it down because I could not handle the workflow that came out of it. So we've now since actually added an element of marketing automation on top of that, so that we have a system to keep people warm, including some training and some things, so that when I can't get to people fast enough, there's a little bit of automation in the background, just to sort of keep things flowing. So
I love it. No, I mean, that's amazing. So, hey guys, listen up, 36%, that's pretty good. And so, you might want to reach out to Peter and Christina to give you a hand with some of that. So, the other thing I like about LinkedIn is, I mean, on Instagram, again, you can just build legions of followers, and on Facebook, it's relatively easy if you want to buy followers. What I like about LinkedIn is typically, not in every case, but the greater level of validation. And to really build a solid platform, you need real people who are recommending you, real people who have worked with you. And so I don't know about you, but I pay, when somebody reaches out to me, I do check them out on Facebook. I even check them out on Instagram, but I pay more attention to what their LinkedIn tells me than any of those other platforms, because it's more validated. I can say anything I like about myself on Facebook, but on LinkedIn, the power is other people saying things about you or not. And if no one has said anything about you and you don't even have a picture up, well, that's kind of weird, right? Like, and someone in their 50s, like, what have they been doing for the last 4 or 5 decades, kind of a thing, right?
It's true.
So then, as we kind of just ask a couple of questions on a business level, I mean, what other things have worked well for you, just to give you a chance to share some of the knowledge and the experiences that you guys have had here?
Yeah, I mean, through this time too, we've been doing Monday morning coffees and Thursday afternoon beers. So I'm going to see where the other kid is, I think.
It's Thursday today, right? So
it is. So 2:45, if you want to have a beer with us, send me a message and I'll give you the Zoom link. But
the Zoom link, that's right.
We've made them completely open. And what's been really cool is the business connections that are made on those that aren't necessarily for us, but a client connecting with another client that we never gave that chance to happen because we operate one client over here and one client over there, and never the two meet. So watching those relationships, and you know, we facilitated that. So
That's awesome.
there's this nice, you know, this nice feeling personally that we're helping, but also this goodwill that's been created. Oh, well, that team's connected and they have valuable connections, and you know, helps us be seen in a really valuable light. I think as much as you can add value right now for a client base or a customer base, that's going to be able to help you thrive moving forward.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So, so then talk a little bit about, you know, juggling. You know, you guys have two twin boys, and you know, you're also running a business, and you're still, you know, keeping everything functional. So how has that side of it gone?
Are we?
Barely.
I think it's, you know, the first, and I'm sure this is typical to everyone, the first week, I would maybe even 2 weeks, was really hard, right? We hadn't found a system that worked. For us right now, what's been working is Peter kind of works a morning shift. We're both waking up too early, getting some stuff done. Peter's working a morning shift, I'm hanging with the boys, and then we do the switch off. Since Hinshaw kind of announced the cohort family kind of piece, my dad's been coming over a bit to help us during the day.
Okay.
But you know, that's kind of every few days, but it's all about that balance. And for me, it's been being as open as possible with clients. I think that never has there been a time where people are more understanding and in the same boat. And from day one, I told clients, look, I am going to try to be as responsive as possible. My team is going to be backfilling for me, but this is what I'm dealing with. So work with me on afternoon meetings. Hey, do you wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning? Can we do a meeting then? And
Awesome.
honesty is the best policy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you got to manage your expectations in this kind of situation, right? And it's just like, hey, you know what? As I said, April 1st, we were supposed to start, you know, breaking records, and you know, we're not breaking records in 2020. But you know what? We're staying good. You know, we're staying sort of good revenue wise. We're continuing to pick up clients here and there, you know, at some kind of pace. And so, I mean, it's really about sort of managing expectations internally. Because if you're too hard on yourself in an environment like this, and you're sort of expecting that you're going to continue and you're going to be so productive, it's going to be tough, and that's just reality. And so that's everybody's reality. We're all in it together. Everybody's there. So I think the quicker you can sort of realign yourself around kind of realistic expectations, the faster you're going to kind of be successful, whatever success looks like.
Yeah, that's so true, right? So true. So on a personal level, what sort of habits or routines have you found have worked well for you?
Yeah, I would say, and maybe it's not a habit or routine, but on Peter's point, I find that my hardest days are the ones where I kind of forget what's going on, and you set all these really big, probably unachievable things to do in a day.
Goals,
So
yeah.
for me, especially lately, it's been what are the two big things that need to get done,
Okay.
and what are the rest. And I think putting the phone away at a certain time, I think especially as everyone's working from home now, that work day is now even more gray. But getting the do not disturb on by, for me, it's 8 o'clock. So it's after the kids go to bed and Peter and I have some time to be a husband and a wife. Having that, you know, on silent, and I'm not looking at my emails, I think have been the most healthy thing for me.
Good for you.
Yeah. For me, I think it's actually, it's kind of interesting, because I was like, I've learned that when I'm really highly stressed, I don't sleep well.
Okay.
And actually,
I learned that too.
the interesting, the interesting thing about this whole situation is that like so much is out of our control that I was just like, I stopped worrying about it, and I've been sleeping better than ever. And I got to tell you, like sleeping well in a situation like this, I think there's nothing more important than just like getting a good night's sleep. And so, you know, like definitely limiting alcohol. I'm just gonna say it. You know, dealing with this by drinking, like dealing with stress by drinking, is the wrong approach. And, you know, don't get me wrong, have a drink, but like don't have drinks every night. Don't change habits around alcohol to the detriment, because getting a good night's sleep is literally the difference between your ability to be resilient and deal with sort of the uncertainty and everything that comes with it. And then I think getting just any amount of exercise in a day, like literally, like today, I just like went outside for 10. Well, I had a nice bike ride at 5:30 in the morning, but you know, the mid morning, I went out and just had a 10-minute walk, and I just sort of, you know, stretched out and got some fresh air. I mean, any amount of exercise possible is just a good thing.
That's really good. So, I love what you're saying. You know, I was on a webinar yesterday, and one of the panelists was talking about the fact, you know, sort of similar to what you were saying, Christina, about, you know, how important it is to really take time, to only do so many things. You know, there's almost this guilt going around. You know, like if you haven't learned how to play the electric guitar or speak Mandarin in the last 2 months, well, what the heck's wrong with you, right? Because, you know, you've had all this time.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of folks are quite overwhelmed right now, you know, like it's, you know, like, you know, for me, business has been really, really busy, and none of the other things that you have going in your life have stopped. As a matter of fact, you know, lineups in front of Costco, you just need to buy a loaf of bread, and it's crazy, right? And so people's lives have become really complicated. And so thanks for that reminder. What are some parenting tips through this time? And I know totally put you on the spot, because it's not like you guys are educators in that sense, but what has helped?
I would say routine is so important for kids. So as soon as Peter and I got on a routine of mom is morning, dad is afternoon, it made it a bit easier. We've done little things like, you can see these papers on our door here. So the kids will get check marks at the end of the day if they've been able to kind of leave mom alone in the office when dad's playing with them, vice versa. So I mean, that works some days and not, but just trying that healthy balance of all the things that they would get if they weren't home. So I've tried to do art with them every day. And, you know, for me as a working mom, even though work from home mom, I don't get that time with the kids, right? They go off to preschool in the morning and they have this great time and they tell me about it. So I've really been trying to, especially lately, view it as this really lucky time I get to just be mom, where I haven't really been able to before. We also splurged and bought a giant bouncy house that came this week.
Nice.
But you know what? That's back to exercise. Like the kids needed some exercise. They can't go climbing in the park. They can't do this and that and the other. They needed the exercise. So like I could instantly tell how much their mood improves after 45 minutes of bouncing in the bouncy house, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, and I would just add to what Christina's saying, and I think really having a lot of empathy and patience right now is the key thing to balancing it. Like it's like they're bored. They're this is hard for them. Like they're humans too, you know, and like they're tired of each other. Twin boys, they're tired of each other a little bit, get on each other's nerves. Like they don't have the regular routines and the things that they're used to having. Like put yourself in their position and their shoes and understand and really it's hard, and they don't understand your work stresses, but you can understand them from a human perspective, what their stresses are. So, you know, being extra patient, as hard as it is, is key.
My last one, order out. I feel like sometimes we make the stress around like, oh, what are you gonna eat? I'm like, I feel like right now you've never had the better excuse to just order, and hey, you get to support local.
Totally.
So order your favorites and get her done, and you're not spending money on going out anywhere or doing anything else. But we, you know, I don't know if this is like bad or good, but our confession is we've ordered supper every day this week so far. We've already pre-ordered for tonight, but it's like we knew we had a crazy week, and it's like if we're gonna get quality family time in, someone can't be worrying about dinner for an hour every day. So that was our confession of the week.
Something's got to give somewhere, right? And so,
great. It's really good. What time should I come over?
Yeah.
So and you know, there's some great deals out there right now too, you know, for things like ordering out, you know, and I love what you're saying about supporting local businesses. It's so important. So, you know, I'm going to ask you to take out your crystal ball here. And I know that's kind of crazy because nobody knows, you know, but what if I'm a business owner, small business, big, whatever, what are a couple of key things I need to keep in mind as we move into the future? Because this too will pass, you know, COVID itself will not exist in its same form forever, but we don't know what it's going to look like. So what would some advice be for you to people in business?
I think for me, it's that the expectations you're setting right now as a business owner, be prepared to carry them into the future, right? So even this conversation around delivery, like a lot of the restaurants I'm ordering from never did that before. And thinking forward to, are you going to sustain this because people like it? Are you not? What's the communication around that look like? And I think, and I think, you know, that working from home, that balance, that all of those things don't go away. So we're setting a lot of precedents right now. Some are great. I think some are, as a business owner, scary. But not losing sight of everything will go 100% back to normal. Think about how your business needs to either communicate going backwards or how you're going to budget and keep for the changes you've made.
Yeah. What I'll say is that, you know, we've been going through a slow transition into a digital economy. That's been a little slower than I think a lot of people thought. And I think COVID has drastically accelerated that pace of that change. And I think that all companies need, and it's a bit self-serving, sorry, but it's true. All companies need to think about digital and how digital is going to impact and on sort of online is going to impact their business and be prepared. And maybe it has an impact direct, maybe it doesn't, but everybody needs to at least spend time thinking about it and preparing for it because like this, it's going to be a major pace change in terms of a direction, going in that direction. And there's going to be companies that will not exist because they haven't adopted and transitioned.
100%. Absolutely. So, you know, kind of as we come closer to a conclusion, what are some tools that you could offer potentially to help folks? And I think this is important. You know, you guys are local business. You know, you're a small business. You're in a position to help. Why? Because you've been there. And you are there and you have expertise. So maybe talk a little bit about that, because I think that's important for people to know that there's resources available.
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of things is we are still running and we're going to continue to run our webinars online. They're free for anybody to join. So we can send you some information about that after, Abe, that you can share with everybody.
Sure.
I mean, I'm happy to have a conversation. So a little bit about me from a sales perspective. I am not a hard salesperson. I will never hard sell. I hate hard salespeople. It's not who I am. So I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody and do an internet business analysis and do a bit of an online, you know, analysis for anybody, whether they want to do stuff on their own, whether they want us to help them with it. I'm just happy to provide that. I have that expertise. I'm happy to provide it to anybody that's looking to look at digital and see what the opportunities are for their business.
So if somebody watching wanted that, where would we direct them?
Probably easiest to send me an email, peter@CIPRcommunications.com. And then we could just have a quick 10-minute phone call. I'll ask you a bunch of questions about your business, and then I will go off and do a bit of work, and we'll connect. I'll review, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome.
I do want to say one thing, though. I sort of walked out when Christina was answering the one question. Just two book recommendations because they're really key books that have transformed my thinking about business. Number one, a book called Profit First.
Okay.
Profit First is a really good book that really, the biggest thing I see about businesses and business owners and entrepreneurs is that they put themselves last when it comes to getting paid. And that's a huge mistake, because you're going to find yourself in 5 years, and I see many entrepreneurs in this space making no money, can't pay the bills, stressed to the end, and things are just not feeling good and looking good, and now you're a slave to this business that you had this dream.
It's supposed to be a good thing.
So Profit First is a really great way to look at your financial picture from an entrepreneur first perspective and a profit first perspective and a business health perspective. Second book is Traction, and Traction is just a fantastic book to help you really focus in on exactly what you're trying to achieve, what your 10-year vision is, what your 5-year vision is. Literally in one page, you can list your entire vision and your tactics that you're going to execute from a quarter-to-quarter basis to achieve your vision. Really good way to just sort of get people focused on the things they need to be focusing on. So those are my two Bibles of entrepreneurship. I recommend them to everybody.
That's awesome. I love it. I really do. I mean, so traction and profit first, some book recommendations, and folks can reach out to you, Peter, for a kind of it sounds like a complimentary online assessment of what's happening. And, I just encourage you folks to take advantage of that. I mean, if there's ever been a time to, retool, reposition, I think it's right now, because I'll tell you what, once the lockdown begins to end, and it will, absolutely. I mean, several provinces in Canada are already easing, and I'm sure Alberta and the rest of Canada will follow. And I think what that means is, everything's going to get back to norm, not to the normal we knew, but it'll be a lot more normal than it is right now. And that'll happen quickly. You know how that is. I mean, people, I don't mean the restrictions, but what I mean is people's pace, the level of activity, because the grind has not gone away. And believe me, the $2,000 a month in Canada has not solved people's financial problems. It's been life support, right? Yeah. So this is a time for you to take advantage of it. I know for me, I've been looking at all aspects of my business, and I don't ever think that it's about going from a 2 to a 9. I kind of look at it and say, hey, right now I'm probably a 6 or 7. How could I get to a 7.5 or an 8? And even that marginal incremental improvement can have a massive impact when it comes to your profit and your reach.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I always kind of talk about, especially when it comes to digital, it's like crawl, walk, and run. Don't worry about being in a full sprint. Like start somewhere and start crawling and build. Right? It's all a build, and business is the same.
Absolutely. So any final thoughts, Peter, Christina, anything at all that you'd like to share?
I feel like, it's one of those, we're all in this together. And I mean, that's so cliche at this point, but we all are, right? So, take Peter up on his offer, and he can always connect you to me as well in terms of, let's just have a chat. Like, we're happy to lend our ears when it comes to comms and marketing. These are going to be important things for you now in order to survive, but I think marketing is going to change a little bit as we leave this place. So before you send out another, we care about you during this time of COVID marketing campaign, because we've seen a lot of those.
Yeah.
Run it by us. We're all ears. We're all in this together. It's about creating community and connections right now. So
totally.
Yeah. And I'll end with a quote from Winston Churchill. I believe it was Churchill that said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." Right. Yep. So, you know what? For me, it's like back to the pace thing. Things have slowed down, obviously, from a business development perspective. Yep. And I've really enjoyed the fact that I've actually had some time to like rethink, retool. Are we doing? What we're doing good? Is it right? Should we be doing something different? So, make sure you take this time to rethink what you're doing, question everything. Check your numbers, check your stats, just make sure. And then sort of when you're ready to go out, you're ready to go out with a good strategy and you feel confident.
Yeah. I mean, like here's the truth, right? And there's no judgment or shame, but I've had to have some tough conversations with business owners. And part of the reason for that was not because I was looking for it, is because they reached out and they said, help me. And COVID, any crisis really just exposes, what's kind of already there. It's an amplifier. Mm-hmm. And so, what's been cool is to look some business owners in the eye and have them say, thank you for helping me to validate what I already knew. And that was that the path I was on was not going to get me where I wanted to be anyways. Yeah. And yes, COVID is a shitty situation. Let's be honest. Right. But if that's the impetus I needed to make the change, then heck, why not make it? Like, what are we waiting for? And so please, folks, take advantage of this. I tell you, I've been doing a lot online, not as much as I'd like to. I can promise you that about this COVID lockdown. And speaking out against it, so don't worry. I'm not like going down to the legislature grounds and leading protests, but just online. Not because I'm not concerned about health, but actually because I think we're doing terrible things when it comes to how resources are being allocated. Mm-hmm. So rather than pouring money into seniors care facilities and acute care and hospitals, we're paying, like my 20-year-old son, who I dearly love, $2,000 a month to sit at home and watch Netflix and play video games.
Yeah.
And the problem is we're patting ourselves on the back and we're, oh, I'm saving lives. And that's complete bullshit because these folks in seniors care facilities are still dying. And so, you know, I don't like that situation, but, you know, I might as well take advantage of it, right? I might as well take advantage of the situation and step up and say, okay, what's my opportunity here, right? And also, how might business change? You know, it's like you've both been saying this whole conversation that the digital world is not going away. Holy cow, COVID has sure confirmed that.
Yep.
So now what do I need to do to kind of reimagine, reinvent myself, right? I get a little passionate about this stuff, you know, but it's because I care, you know, and I think it's important to care, especially, you know, and I don't say, hey, reopen the economy because my business is suffering. Business is great over here. But I can tell you, I've talked to dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens who have had to make painful choices, and the trauma that they're dealing with is going to last far longer than COVID. I can promise you that, right? And it breaks my heart. So, you know, thanks, Peter and Christina. Christina, any one or two final thoughts, and then I'm going to tell everybody about next week and what's going to be happening.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks. I really enjoyed the conversation, as I always do with you, Abe. Yeah, anytime anybody wants to reach out, our door is open.
Love it.
Again.
And so CIPR Communications.com,
Correct,
right, is where you're online. And of course, that is on LinkedIn as well as Facebook. Christina, how about yourself?
I mean, I said this the other day in a LinkedIn video that I made too, but it's like, give yourself some grace, you know, allow this to be okay, right? You know, it's a weird time. So just go with the flow, connect with people.
Yeah.
Peter and I have been talking about the importance too of like, allow yourself to grieve some of those things, right? Like our epic April that didn't happen. Okay. We grieved it and that was okay. And we're going to move on. So, you know, it's all good.
Yeah. I love that. Give yourself some grace. And I love Thursday beer at 2:30.
Yeah, have beer on Thursday. That's
2:45 today. Yeah.
2:45. And on the note of beer, just as we conclude, you know, actually next week our guest is going to be Grant Sherman, who's the co-founder of the Tool Shed Brewing Company. You know, so we're really excited to have Graham. And you know, I mean, they were making some very positive waves as entrepreneurs before COVID happened, and you can be sure that as a brewery, you know, with real world employees again, and land and buildings and equipment, it's been really tough, you know, but they've found a way to be resilient. And so Graham's going to be joining us next week. That's Thursday, May the 7th at 11:45. And please do join us. Just go to businessresilience.now.com and you can register for the webinar. It's going to be great. And, you know, just one final thought again, you know, we've been trying our best to pay homage to all of the frontliners out there. And, you know, it's amazing to see, and I think it's so good to know that the person working in the grocery store, they're as courageous as the doctors and the nurses, right? They've been continuing to serve and continuing to step up. And so thank you for your contributions. And thanks, Peter and Christina. This has been awesome and much appreciated, much love. And we'll see you all next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.